to the Ask Ken show with Ken Lewicki at channelinginc.com. And Kevin Hughes is going to be my guest here. He's at Kevali Channeling. He's going to be the host who's going to be hosting. So if you are watching this, the way that this works, it's really awesome. What you do is you type in your questions and ask anything spiritual. So not necessarily about yourself. I have another show for that if you want a reading and stuff like that. But we're talking about anything spiritual. And what I'm going to be doing is channeling and actually checking the answers. So go ahead, ask away, type in your questions. Kevin's going to see the questions come in. And so if you're watching this right now, please make sure to do this and go ahead and participate. Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Welcome to everybody. Well, I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday evening. I am in just outside of Calgary in Airdrie, Alberta, and it is a scorcher today. It was, I think it got above 30 here. Ken is way down in, where are you, Waterton? And Ken is frozen. So, Ken, if you can hear me, you're frozen. So, now you're not. There you go. Are you in Waterton today, Ken?
Yeah, so if the internet's a little intermittent, it's just because I'm out in the boonies on our farmer's field, out in the middle of nowhere, but it's beautiful. I love being like in nature, and sometimes you just have to go with it. We're real blessed here in North America for the most part. We have good internet throughout the most part, so we'll make it do. If any of you just tuning in right now, the way that this works is you type in your questions. Anything spiritual, I will channel the answers. So we need your participation for the show. It's called the Ask Ken Show at channelinginc.com. Go ahead and type in your questions. Anyways, continue on, Kevin.
Kathleen Kettering sends blessings from Sacramento, California.
Oh.
So all of a sudden, the show is international, Ken.
Yay. Well,
it's just that simple.
Yeah. Welcome.
And Lori,
you said?
Kathleen Kettering.
Nice. Welcome,
I'm hoping
Kathleen.
I'm saying her name right.
Yes, and if any of you are watching, please announce yourself and say where you're from. Thank you.
Lori Ingram sends a wave. I'm not sure where Lori's from. And Mrs. Jennifer, I believe it's Jennifer Alberta. From Mystic Star. She's from, I believe, where are you from, Jennifer?
Airdrie.
Is she? Mystic Star?
Yeah. Guess we'll find out.
Okay, we're going to start this one off really on a very deep one, Ken.
Oh my goodness! Here we go. Let's jump right into it.
Let's jump into it because we only have an hour, guys. So, Kathleen Kettering says, "Oops, man, people are jumping in all over. I've been told that I have a dark entity on me. Any suggestions to get them off me?"
So yes, actually, in your case, Kathleen, you do. And anyone who knows me, who's been working with me for several years, they know I'm straight up with people. I don't beat around the bush. And if you didn't, I would tell you. And if you do, you do. And in your case, you do. So I have created very specific actual tools because when I first started doing this in 2004, I struggled with this for over a decade on my own, had no one to help me through this and mentor me through this. And so I had to develop my own tools on how to deal with this stuff. So I have just developed something. It's called the expulsion command. And the way that works, basically the expulsion command is I hereby cast out all souls and beings who are not in my highest and greatest good. All souls and beings who are not in my highest and greatest good, get out now. And basically what you do is you banish these, you expel these souls so that they're no longer in your vicinity. And then after you do that, you revoke and rescind all permissions, because what's happened is whether consciously or subconsciously, you've given permission to one of these souls or beings, and that's why they can affect you detrimentally.
And Ken is frozen again.
Realm, there's the in-between realm, and then there's the animal spirit realm. And lost souls, they reside in the in-between realm, and they're those ones you see on like those ghost hunter shows and stuff. And they really do exist. I wish that we could all just live love and light and everything's just roses and all that stuff. It's just not rainbows and all unicorns with fart sprinkles out their butt. No, it's not like that. Unfortunately, there is sides of spirituality that is not of the light. So I teach my students how to take ownership, how to basically first of all, identify and know when you are being compromised is what I call it, spiritually compromised. And then when you are, then how to deal with that. So that's what I call, and what I developed, it's called the expulsion command. And I teach that in my channeling level 2 workshop. And if you like, after the show, I can just go ahead and clear you real quick. And then there's one more step that I do teach my students, which is an actual very important step, which is actually crossing the lost souls over. So one of the workshops that I am planning to do is what's called a psychic protection and crossing lost souls over workshop and training. So yes, I do teach that in my full weekend workshop in channeling level 2. However, I'm going to do an independent, separate one where it's going to be focused just on that, because I've been getting a lot of is just people want to learn at least something that can protect themselves and how to take charge of things in the non-physical, the spirit realm. So I will teach that, and I already teach it, and I can also teach you in a one-on-one session as well, and I'll actually walk you through how to do it, because everything I teach is all about empowering my students. I want to teach you how to be able to do this, so when I'm not around, you can do it. And so people like Kevin, who's taken my trainings, he's learned how to do it. He knows how to take care of himself and make sure he's psychically clean and clear, and that he's basically an awesome clear channel, which is really important. One thing I do want to clarify is that some people are hesitant. They're like, oh, if I take this channeling, then I might open myself up to stuff I'm not supposed to. It doesn't work that way. Is people are already channeling. Everybody, of all the 7 billion people, we all channel, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. What I teach my students is how to operate in the light. Make sure that you're working in the light. Make sure that you're working in a safe way, a way that's safe for you. And if you have any clients or family members, people like that, everyone's safe and you're doing it properly. And then I also do in my one-on-one sessions things like spiritual upgrades, enhancements. I reinforce your auric field and your protection field so that you're a little bit more resilient, so you don't as easily get compromised from things that are not of the light. So it's a whole deep topic. I could literally go on the whole hour about this. Thank you for the question. Really great question. And Kevin, if you can remind me after this, I will clear her. So
I've made a note, and I think
thank you.
by doing what you just did, I think you have really helped clear her already. But she needs a more deeper clear as well. We are Lori Ingram. She said hi, and she's from Calgary. And then we have
Yes.
Ellison Jones from Airdrie in Kevin's living room.
Yay.
What is this person doing in my living room, Ken?
Well,
Um,
apparently she's the better half of Kevin. Lovely,
she's a
lovely lady, Allison Jones.
way
Love her
better
to death.
half.
She's actually the reason why Kevin is here, because Allison was
Yes.
interested in taking my channeling workshop, and then she was trying to convince Kevin to take it, and Kevin really, he did take him all my workshops, and now he's run with it and does fantastic things. And if any of you are ever watching and you want just like a straight up reading, Kevin's the guy to go to. So make sure you do that. If you want to learn how to channel, you want to learn how to do this, I will teach you that. So we both do awesome things and can help anybody out there with this stuff. So
Yes, awesome. Lori Ingram has a question. She'd like to know if there is a class or modality I should be focusing my energy on at this time or being called to start. I don't know if that's a specific question or if we can make it more
yeah,
general, Ken.
it is a very specific question to you, Laurie. I am actually not suggesting. I again, I'm totally upfront with my students, and if you were meant to do the channeling, I was getting you were meant to retake some of that like earlier in the year, but now you actually, I keep getting Reiki, but Reiki by someone else,
Yeah.
someone different, and that's very strong. Like, you need to get the energy flowing again really strong, and you need some updated attunements as well. So what an attunement is, for those of you listening, an attunement is actually a symbol that is put in somebody. It doesn't have to be Reiki. There's lots of attunements out there. Of course, Reiki has a lot of attunements that can go with it, but there's a lot of different ones out there. And what I do with my students, if they need attunement or reattunement, because sometimes the attunements don't take, what I'll do is I'll work with what's called the symbols archangel, and he will actually identify the symbols, either that need the new symbols you need or the attunements that you need whichever ones. And then there's actually a lot more steps that a lot of people don't realize. So it's not just a matter of putting the symbol in there, and each symbol does different things, but it's not just about putting the symbol in there, which you have to also check. And you do this through channeling. That's why I feel channeling is the foundation to all spirituality, is because you can check these things. Is you put the symbol in, and then after you put it in, you have to make sure that it's connected to all the systems, the non-physical systems of the person appropriately and really solidly. And then after that, you have to make sure that it's lit up fully. So it's not just on fully. And think of it like a dimmer. Some students come to me and they've had attunements from other people, and what I notice is that the attunements don't take fully, or sometimes not at all. So it's like the symbol's there, but it's like dulled out, like gray.
And I believe Ken froze again. It won't last
Um,
long. There we go. You're back, Ken.
so I make sure that is basically activated fully and turned up fully. So just like the dimmer switch, and your full that symbol and attunement is fully active in the person.
Awesome. And just some housekeeping. There is a person who's replying to everybody on the chat by the name of Hannah Walker. Neither Ken nor myself endorse this person. They are asking people, she is asking people to inbox her for accurate reading. Please ignore her. I'm not able to find and delete her, but please ignore her. Desiree Kennedy is asking a question. Can you still have a reading if the person hasn't had a funeral yet? So I think she's asking, can someone who's crossed over come through to a psychic or a channeler, even though they haven't had a proper earthly funeral?
Yeah. So has this happened to you? If it has, my condolences to you and the family. The answer is yes. So this is Mediumship 101. I go through the foundation and the fundamentals of what happens when a person dies and they cross over. And so basically what happens is the moment that the soul leaves the body, and it's really cool because there's been studies where the actual soul weighs several ounces. And so at that moment of death, you actually have a lighter physical body by several ounces, because that's when the moment that the soul leaves the body, and then it goes back to the astral realm. Remember earlier I said there's 3 different realms, and oftentimes for the first little while, so it could be a few days or a few months or even several like afterward, the person is what's called containment. They're in that containment area because they're going through like deprogramming, because it's very tough to be incarnated on Earth. So there's usually like a life review and other things that go on in that. So they're not released to the general public. So they're usually not fully accessible. Sometimes they can be a little bit, or sometimes they might hang around or show up at their own funeral and things like that. But you don't have to wait to the funeral oftentimes to communicate with them. Sometimes it can happen immediately upon the moment that they pass. But it's a more complex question because there's a lot of variables involved. For example, when my dad passed in 2001, he was in that containment for quite a while. And so whenever at that time, I didn't know how to do like psychic readings or mediumship or anything like that. But I did have a medium, a lady who did try to communicate with him. And she's like, yeah, he's off in the distance, and I can see him, but he's not available. And I didn't figure out until many, many years later, when I developed my own channeling skills and I went into the astral realm and figured out how all that works, that it's because they're in that deprogramming stage. So once they're done with that deprogramming stage, which could take several days, several weeks, or even several months, then they're released to the general public in the astral realm. And then from there, a medium or psychic can fully communicate with that person, like full out, and get a full-blown conversations with them if they're skilled and been trained and have the abilities to do so, which is what I teach my students how to do, basically how to be mediums. So great question.
And the psychics guides, or even the client's guides, usually will tell them where that person is, whether there be a lost soul or whether they're in containment. Would that be
Yeah.
a correct statement?
Yeah. So if let's say somebody passes over 10 years ago, and then what I teach my students is to actually check with their spirit guides are they available? And they might not always be available. Sometimes in the astral realm, a lot of people don't understand the astral realm very well. And so what happens in the astral realm is they could be in containment, they could be doing recreational stuff, they could be studying, like doing learning, they could be doing recreational kind of activities, a whole bunch of, or even on duty, there are duties for them to do, or they could have actually reincarnated on another part of the planet, and so they're definitely not available at that time anytime after that, because their souls basically busy incarnated somewhere else as a child in another part of the planet.
Awesome. We have all kinds of new people that just joined us, so I'm just going to refresh people. If you have a question, let's keep it very general. We're not here to give you a reading on this one. Ken does another show with Ken's mentees that they can do a reading. This one's just basically asking questions about spirituality. So if you do, type it out into the chat. I will do my best to get to it. I'm going to kind of drop back a little bit because I know there's a lot of new people tuning in, and we probably have covered this in past shows, but I think it's worth going over again. We talk about channeling like everybody in the world should know what channeling is. So can we kind of give a definition of what is channeling, Ken?
Question. It's somebody in physical incarnation communicates with somebody on the other side. So that could be a spirit guide. It could be a lost souls we talked about earlier. It could be a loved one, which is called mediumship. Channeling, a lot of people have a misconception about channeling. So there's a bunch of different ways that we can, a soul or a spirit can communicate with us. The 6 major clairs are clairvoyant, which is like clear seeing. So you might get an image in your mind about what the apparition or the soul or spirit looks like. Clairaudient, so you might actually hear their voice in your mind, and they have different tone and different voice, different influctuation of their voice. Intonation, all that kind of stuff, characteristics about their voice that makes it unique. What's called clairsentient. So clairsentient can be like the different like goosebumps and tingling and electrical kind of signals, or all sorts of different sensations like a pressure, or that's all clairsentient, plus the emotions of the guide or the soul. That's the way. Another way that they can communicate to us. Another way is through called clairalience or alience, which is like the smell. So you might get a smell in your mind from that soul. You might get a taste. That's called clairgustance. Or another one is called claircognizant, which is like the clear knowing. And a lot of people get that one mistaken. They think that actually comes from the head, but it actually doesn't. And it comes from the gut. It's like an instant gut, comes quick, comes fast, and it's an instant gut knowing. So when you really hone your abilities on your different clairs, then you can learn how to enhance your communication with souls on the other side in the astral realm, and really fine tune those tweaks. So we all do it. We've all felt like sensations, or we've all heard like a voice in our mind, or saw like an apparition in our mind, or maybe a taste or smell or a clear cognizant kind of message. And so it's a matter of doing it consciously and doing it on purpose. And then that's just the very basics, though. There's a whole bunch of exercise I take my students through, especially in the more advanced, like channeling level 2 and 3 levels, that are way, way, way beyond what I just explained. And there's really no end to this. Like Kevin's been working with me for several years now, and it just keep taking it up and up and up and up. And it's just endless amount of detail and specifics, and honing your abilities over and over and over again over the many years. It's really cool and really awesome, and it's fun, because spirituality is meant to be what?
Fun.
Fun. Yes. So we have fun with it, and we have fun with it along the way as you're learning, and it's just great.
And if you ever have tuned in with Ken and I, we always try to have as much fun, even when we're dealing with really deep, not dark, but deep subjects. We still have to have fun, because I mean, when we're looking at what we're doing, we're literally, when you're with Ken, you're learning how to get messages from loved ones on the other side. How freaking amazing is that?
Yeah.
When you come to me for a session, I'm giving you messages from your spirit guides. We should be excited. We should be having fun. I get when people are like, no, it's supposed to be fun. So on that note, though, different books, different teachers teach different things. How do we know what to believe? I've read like 3 different books now, and in those 3 books, they told me 3 different things. How do I know which one is right?
It's a really great question. There's a lot of myths and theories out there on the internet, and what I do when I take my students through the three levels, levels one, two, and three, is I tell them, I say, don't believe anything I say. Don't believe anything any teacher says. Really don't. All I'm doing is I'm teaching you the tools of how to channel your spirit guides so you can confirm and verify everything with them. Because
Yes.
when you get really good at channeling them, you're going to realize that probably a lot of the stuff that you were taught, a lot of it maybe isn't accurate. And I went through that phase too, where someone pointed out, it's like, Ken, that's not true. And I'm like, yeah, it is. They're like, Ken, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is. They're like, Ken, how do you know it's true? And I'm like, because the person I learned from has been doing it for 35 years.
So it
He's
has to be
a
true.
millionaire. He must know what he's talking about. And then it's like when I checked, I was like, oh man, like, and it wasn't true. And so now what I have to do is I had to relearn everything that I was taught and check, and some of it was accurate, so that stuff of course I keep, but a lot of it wasn't, and I was okay with it. So what I recommend is taking a class on, like, an actual formal channeling workshop on how to be trained professionally, like formal training, so that you can get really good at how to verify the answers for yourself and see maybe it really is true or maybe it's not, or maybe there's a part of it's true, and then that part you can ask your guides to elaborate on it, and that's a more advanced technique that I teach. It's called the tunneling technique, and then from there you can really learn to expand on it. So that's actually how I developed a lot of my curriculum. So when I teach, I'm like fully transparent. I'm like, look, that's how I learned about this, and that's how I figured this out with my guide, and then I figured that out with my guide, and I'm teaching you how to do it, so when I'm not around, you can learn how, when you're learning something, or whether it's from a teacher or a book or something like that. Like, I'll read like an awesome book from someone like Wayne Dyer, and as amazing as he's phenomenal. I'll be reading through it and I'll be like, yep, 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 and because I'm channeling while I'm reading it. Yep, yep, yep. Oh, not quite. Okay, that's okay. Keep going. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, what else? Yep, yep. No, not quite. Okay, so what would be more? Okay, yeah, and then I keep going. That's how I read books. That's how I, watch spiritual learnings or videos, whether it's on YouTube or just any kind of, like, media kind of format. Is I'm constantly channeling as I'm learning it. And what I do caution my students is, be careful who you learn from, because you want to learn for somebody who actually has the fruit on the tree, who knows what they're talking about, knows how to channel and check the stuff that they're teaching, so that you know that you're being taught by somebody who can actually verify the information about what they're teaching. And so I don't all I do is I teach people how to channel so they could get the answers for themselves. And then from that knowledge base, because I feel that channeling is the foundation to all spirituality, then as they're being taught from that point forward afterward, they could be checking anything that their teacher is teaching them, or from a book or any kind of video media or any other platform.
Nice. Jennifer from Mystic Star has a simple question. She wants to know, how are you doing, Ken?
Oh, actually, really good.
I wasn't going to ask it, but I just feel like that's worth asking, and you need to answer it. How are you doing, Ken?
I actually feel really grounded, really centered, really like in alignment with my life. I've been taking the last 2 weeks to just, do some camping, which I haven't done in like 15 years, get to know myself again.
I
Um,
almost spit water out my nose because you said you went camping.
Kevin, who knows me, I like glamping, like at a hotel and stuff like that. But, and then
I once actually suggested Ken go camping. He goes, "Okay, I'm going to go to Canmore and get a 5-star hotel."
and that's what I did. Yes. So in the mountains, yeah. I'm actually doing really good though. Like, I feel like I'm in alignment more than I've ever been. I'm on fire. I'm doing lots of events. So whole bunch. I probably have 12 active events right now, and it's just really good. Like, it's so good that I can be with people and be present and be able to just, like, a lot of that healing work that I've done over the decades has really paid off. So those of you
Yes.
that are watching, I do encourage you that every little bit of that healing work that you're doing, whether it's with me or others, or with yourself, like, I really do feel self healing does go a long way. It really does pay off, and I can honestly say that the fruits of the tree, I finally have them, and it's been a lot of hard work. And this last few years has been pretty tough, and this last year though has been like really, really good, really good. So I
Especially
feel
the last
amazing.
8 months
Thank
for
you.
you. You've really grown into yourself in the last 8 months, I'll say.
Thank you.
So
I
I've
agree.
had other people ask me this. What does it mean when you get a real metal taste in your mouth, Ken? We were talking about the different clairs. Is there a
Yeah.
one specific thing? Like if I smell roses, is that grandma? Or is if I get a metal taste in my mouth, is it mean I'm being summoned? Do you know what I mean?
What I suggest to my students, instead of looking at it that way, is so for example, when I teach my students how to channel a totem animal, for example, and then after that exercise I say, does that mean that if you look online and you read what does a bear do, and there's 10 people in a lineup and they all have a bear as a totem animal, that means the bear does the exact same thing for all 10 people? Not necessarily. Instead, what I'm teaching you how to do is to check with your totem animal to figure out exactly what your totem animal does specifically for you. And if you want to look at a totem animal book, or you want to read about totem animals online, and then just pull out the stuff that is actually applicable to you and your totem animal. And then I teach other techniques on how to actually elaborate and get more information beyond like a book or what's shown online. So same thing with the different clairs, like that's called clairgustance. So it's clear tasting. And so if you taste that metal taste in your mouth, first thing you need to always do with channeling is always know the source. Who are you getting that information from? And then once you know the source, then you know what to do with it. Do you dismiss it, or do you actually take it and try to decipher it? If you are meant to decipher it, then that's when I'll teach you, like, okay, in this case, specific case, what does that metal taste mean? And I don't even bother looking online, because again, you could get a whole bunch of hogwash and stuff like that, but instead get it directly from the source. And then maybe 3 months later or a year later, you get another metal taste in your mouth, and then you can channel and you can check, okay, what does that metal taste mean? And it could mean something totally different.
Yes.
Um, so it's really important to be careful about just blindly, like, Googling something and go, oh, that's what it must be, and assumptions. So I tell my students, especially in the more advanced levels, is don't assume anything anymore. You're beyond assumptions, assuming something. You actually have the ability to check and find out if your assumption is true, because it might not be. It might be something totally different than what you're expecting. And are you open to that?
That's probably one of the best things Ken ever taught me. I think it was in level 3 back then, was don't assume. Just because it meant this last time, make sure it's meaning the same thing this time, because it might not.
Yeah.
Right. So, Carrie Goodhope Penchuk, she took all 4 classes with you, the 6-month mentoring, and is in the mentees now. And this is a really good question. Is there any other classes that she should be taking in the future? And I'm going to specifically say for channeling. Once we
Mm.
get to the point of doing your mentees, I know you have your mastermind workshop. Is there anything else that a person should be doing?
Um, the big thing, she's good for her specifically. I am checking. She's good for workshops. And then that's why I have my Master Channeling Mastermind group, where we meet 4 times a year. And that's for all the people who've completed at least level 3 of my channeling. And that's really, really advanced stuff. So please keep showing up to that, Carrie. For her specifically, I'm keep getting practice. And it's practice with strangers, but also practice with others, like her classmates, and
Yes.
that keeps her in the game and keeps her going. And something's about starting to charge money for her services, and
Yeah.
doing lots of it, like doing lots of activity practice sessions, but also charging for sessions. She's ready now.
It
Yeah.
was funny. Somebody, I forget what group, it was a group that you were in, Ken, and someone asked how I'm having trouble getting clear messages when I'm channeling. What can I do? And it's just like anything else. If you want to become a great hockey player, you don't sit on the bench. You get out there and you
Yeah.
practice and practice, and you take a million shots against your parents' garage door. Would that not be the same for people who are learning to channel?
Yeah, and I tell my students, I'm like, I'm nothing great. I'm no one special. I'm really
Thank
not.
you.
If you get to meet me in person, you'll just be like, I'm just a regular dude, like just like everyone else. The only thing that separates me from the rest of the people is I practice lots. That's all. So if and I tell my students, if you practice as much as I do, you can be as great and even better than me. And I want you to. I really do. I want you to rock this and be awesome about it. Now, the only difference between the hockey example and this example is not everyone might not want to be a hockey player, but with channeling and spirituality, everybody's spiritual. All of you watching right now, you're all spiritual. So
Yes.
spirituality is the foundation, or channeling is the foundation of all spirituality. So why not just keep practicing that, keep honing your abilities with the channeling part of it, so your spirituality can really skyrocket and take off once and for all. And like with that formal training, and that's what I really encourage my students starting in level 2. Like level 1 is practicing with yourself, and then level 2 and level 3 is practicing with others. And that's, it's so important. Like that's really what makes me as good as I am to do with channeling, is I just practice lots day in day out. I'm practicing all the time. I make it a regular everyday part of my life, whether I'm camping, whether I'm at the grocery store, whether I'm exercising. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm always channeling. And
Choosing
that's,
a restaurant, whatever. And it's
yeah,
I say that because I found it funny. I went out to meet Ken in Canmore, and he literally had me channel which restaurant we should go to, which I
exactly.
thought, well, that's bizarre, but of course, everything. Um, we talk very often when we're doing a show like this or any other show, and we throw words out there like soul, new soul, old soul. There's a lot of people listening or will be listening to the replay.
Yeah.
First off, what is your soul?
Okay, so your soul resides right here. It's in your sternum area. So it's what's called the seat of your soul. So it's actually not your heart chakra. It's not your solar plexus chakra. It's actually right in between. And your soul is the essence of who you are. And the best analogy I like to use is the analogy where in the Transformers, they call it the spark. And so in one of the episodes, one of the later ones, it's like, I think the third or fourth one, where the bad guys are going and they're killing all the good, the Transformers. And when they kill them, the machine falls over and collapses, and then the soul raises up, and you see it raise up and go up. And that's basically, without your soul, our body, our container would just basically collapse and fall over, and our soul would go to the astral realm. And so your soul is the essence of who you are. It is the most important component. So the difference between a soul and a spirit is, a soul is actually a very specific component of you, and then your spirit is your overall essence. Okay, so
Thank you.
that's the difference between the two. And the difference between an old soul and a new soul is that an old soul is somebody who's incarnated on this planet many, many times, usually thousands, if not tens of thousands of times. They would be considered an old soul for this planet. However, a new soul may have only incarnated a few times, so that's why they would be considered a new soul. However, if an old soul incarnated on another planet, chances are they would be considered a new soul to that planet, whereas another soul may have incarnated thousands of times on that planet, so they'd be considered an old soul in the context of that planet. So I don't get too hung up on old soul, new soul, star seeds, all that. To me, all that doesn't really matter. All souls have been created at the same time. All souls are magnificent and amazing just the way they are. And everyone is trying to go through their own evolution and their growth. And it's just beautiful to watch. And I do an exercise with my students where I take them through, like, actually I can take the group through it now. So what I'll get everyone to do, if you're watching this, is just take a moment, close your eyes, and what I'm going to do is have you imagine yourself like a downtown city center, like an urban center. So if you're watching this, just do this with me real quick. So you're walking downtown at a major city center, and you see all sorts of different people there. But instead of seeing those people there, you look beyond the container and you go deeper and you look at their soul. So you might see a homeless person, but you don't see them, you see their soul. You might look and see a person in a suit and tie, but you don't see that person, you see their soul. You may see a person pushing a shopping cart, but you don't see that person, you see their soul. You might see a lady in a nice, elegant dress, but you don't see that person, you see a soul. And when you start to see people like this, on a soul level, you realize that everybody is so beautiful and amazing the way that they are, just trying to do their best with this incarnation that they have called life. So welcome to the journey. If you're going through any struggles, which I am, we all are, welcome with the journey. We're all going through this together, including all those examples of the people I just mentioned. And we're all souls trying to evolve and get the most out of this lifetime. And it's a wonderful, beautiful journey. And so when you do that exercise and you live it, then you don't judge people based on their appearance and where they are in their life and their journey, because you realize that's one incarnation of the many hundreds, if not thousands, of incarnations that they've had, and different lifetimes they've had different containers. They might have been a different race or different demographics or a different ethnic group or a different religion or even a different species if they've incarnated on a different planet.
Wow. I made a comment on Facebook on one of your videos that you posted on how you're able to take a very complex idea and be able to explain it. There's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Only Ken Lewicki can take a concept of what is a soul and use a transformer and make it make sense. It's amazing to me. It just blows my mind. I had to say it. Everett Ryder and Natasha Willoughby both say good evening, Kevin and Ken.
Hi, easy.
Hi, Natasha. I hope Natasha's having fun with her spiders. Or did she get rid of her spiders? And that was mean. I'm a mean man today.
Yeah, she looked like a ghost hunter. I don't know if you saw my comment on that.
I did. We quite often, again, talk about spirit guides and not really explain what a spirit guide is, or let's delve into that a little bit. First off, what is a spirit guide?
When you die and you cross over, you'll go to the astral realm. When you go to the astral realm, then you will be with your soul family. But while you're incarnated, certain members of your soul family will help and assist you. So your spirit guides are actual members of your soul family. And actually an exercise I do in my channeling level 2 is I get my students to meet their soul family, because a lot of people go their whole life and they've never actually met and been introduced to the soul family. And why do we have to wait till we die and cross over to meet our soul family? Like, they're so amazing and supportive and here to help us. And so my experience has been that most people have between 3 to 5 spirit guides during any one season of their life, and each guide helps them in a different area of their life. And so when you have your soul family on the other side, those people, those members of your soul family, 3 to 5 of them during different seasons of your life, will step forward and they will help and assist you in different areas of your life. And when you really get to know them on a real deep personal level, you realize that they're actually very valuable. They actually help you very profoundly. And we have met more than just 3 to 5 different areas of our life. So often one guide will help in many different areas of our life. And it's really important, because a lot of us, the way that we live our life is we just kind of like, whichever way the wind blows is which way we go. Oh, the wind's blowing this way. Okay, I guess I'm going that way. Oh, the wind's blowing this way now. Oh, I guess I'm going that way. And we don't live really like intentional and purposeful. Some people try to live on purpose. They don't really have the guidance to make sure that they're actually going down the right path, the right train tracks. And so your guides, what they will do is be like, no, Ken, not quite like this, more like this. Oh, like this. Yeah. Oh, and then do this. Oh, okay. Do that. Oh, okay. And then start up this psychic protection and crossing lost souls over channeling workshop. Oh, okay. And, and then I do that. And then I do this. And then next thing I know, all these things unfold and the miracles happen, and they happen like day in, day out on a regular basis, because I'm following my guide's guidance. And yes, you can live your life without following your guide's guidance. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to live your life to the fullest, I do recommend learning how to channel your spirit guides really, really well, and then following their guidance and watch the miracles happen over and over again. It's just so amazing. I love when the magic unfolds like constantly. And one of the things when I first started doing this in 2004 is I made a commitment to myself that if I ever get bored of the miracles and the serendipities and synchronicities, if I ever get bored of that, I might as well just quit. And to this day, I'm still like that childlike, ooh, this is so cool. oh, it's so amazing. And I want to keep that the rest of my life because, oh, I'm getting goosebumps
Yes.
talking about that, because this is the magic that happens when you really delve fully into spirituality. And then you can use spirituality to help you in all the areas of your life, including personal, business, career, health, finances, relationships, and on and on and on. Source,
Everything.
everything is so cool.
Very cool. Question from Shelley Walsler from Lethbridge. Do
Hi,
your
Shelley.
spirit do your spirit guides know your future, or do they experience it with you?
The answer is both. And it's not a clear cut yes no question or answer to that. So think of like you have like your timeline. So here's like your timeline. And so you're on this trajectory and you're going on this timeline. So your guides may be able to see slightly ahead in your timeline, but you have this magic, amazing thing, and it's amazing, a beautiful gift, and it's called free will. And so because you have free will, you can make a different decision to alter that timeline and go in a different direction. And so your guides often don't give you long term, like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out kind of information, just because there's so many variables and there's so many things being orchestrated behind the scenes in the astral realm and with other people and interactions and other guides and all that. So they don't go too far ahead, but oftentimes if you do get, it's what I call near future answers. So like, is it in Shelley's best interest to take Ken's channeling level 1 workshop, in 2 weeks from now? And because that's relatively close in your timeline, that's just right here, they can give you that already. You're already on this trajectory, and yes, this would be in your highest and greatest good. 2 years out, 5 years out, not so much. So I do try to recommend my students stay away from future-based questions with their guides, and instead stay focused more on present-based questions, like what can I do now? Let's say if I'm single, what can I do now to be a healthier person so I can attract somebody that's a closer, higher vibration, like vibrational match? If I'm having trouble with my children and I'm a parent, what can I do now, me, to be a better parent, rather than worrying about what's going to happen with me as a parent in the future, or what's going to happen with my kids in the future. Instead, they will often give you answers what you can do now to be a better parent to help support your children now. And I can go on and on with relationships, with job situations,
Every aspect
anything
of life.
future based. They will often give you present moment, or want to give you present moment questions or answers, so that you can focus on right now in this moment. Maybe it's you need to read a certain book. Maybe it's you need to call somebody. Maybe it's you need to start taking new risks, like calculated risks is what I call it, to help you get down the road. And you don't always know where it's going to lead until a year or two later, and you look back in hindsight and go, oh, that's why my spirit guides wanted me to do this and talk to this person and go here and travel to this place and talk to this person and start up this new venture, and on and on and on. And here I am 2 years later going, wow, look at this.
Will they give us the winning lottery numbers? I keep asking, and they're not giving me yet, Ken.
Yeah, no, they don't play with other tricks and stuff like that. I play with them jokingly, and I don't even play the lotto because the chance. Yeah, no.
Yeah, they just don't do it. Oh, here's a great question that I'm really surprised hasn't come up in a past show yet. What are your thoughts on using substances for channeling? She kind of put some in there, shrooms and some word I can't even pronounce. So any kind of illicit drugs.
So, yeah. So first of all, first thing I want to clarify: if you are on medication, please stay on your medication. I'm not a medical doctor. Please talk to your psychiatrist about that. Anything medical, like medication. But we're talking about recreational drugs. So my personal opinion is that I can teach my students how to get with channeling, how to get super high, advanced, accurate information from the techniques that I will teach them, way beyond anything. The only thing that I found is when you use different of those kind of recreational drugs, is that you're in such an altered state. Sometimes it's hard to discern what is actual spiritual or what is a chemical kind of thing happening, or neural pathways being rewired and all that other stuff while you're having that experience. The other only caution that I have is that I have had several of my students who've taken some of those examples of those recreational drugs, and they've come back to me and they're just a mess. Like they have holes in their auric field, they've had soul attachments and other things that are affecting them, and they're all like spiritually a disaster, plus chemically sometimes, and other physical ways or biochemically. And then I try my best to put them back together again, and sometimes they're like a complete mess. So it is dangerous. I do suggest, for me, I have the theory that you can do anything spiritual without those things and go way beyond anything you can imagine without it. That's just my opinion. Again, I don't tell my students what to do, not to do. Instead, I teach them and then check with your guides. And my experience has been that 99% of the time, people's spirit guides say, no, stay far away from that stuff. And instead, just learn how to do it when you're sober and you're straight without any of those illicit drugs.
Yeah, the mind altering drugs.
Mind altering.
Carrie Penchuk, Good Hope Penchuk is going back, and she says, this is an awesome way to see people. I will definitely be doing it more. She's going back to when you had us do that exercise, walking
Yes.
through the city and seeing homeless people, seeing different people, just seeing their souls. It was amazing. Maddie Noise says, I love learning stuff from you too. Thanks. She's such a sweetheart. Oh, here's a good question. Can an angel be a spirit guide?
So angels can assist a human, but they usually work on more universal matters. So your real true spirit guides, that's why. So I'm very clear with my students is that a spirit guide is an actual soul who is in the astral realm and a member of your soul family who helps and assists you. They're not angels. So angels don't have souls. And I teach my students this in channeling level 3, the expert level, where I actually have them, check. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Angels don't have souls. It's not that it's right or wrong, bad or good or bad. It's just that they don't need it for their makeup. And so angels actually a lot there. It's actually more rare than people think that angels actually help and get involved in human affairs, because again, they're more usually working on universal levels. And so your soul, when you incarnate, your spirit guides know why you've chosen to incarnate, what you meant to get out of this lifetime, and how you're meant to grow and evolve as a soul. And so angels don't know, they don't deal with humans on those intricate kind of levels. So the bulk of the time you're going to be channeling your spirit guides for guidance in different areas of your life. However, in level 3, there are exceptions to that. And I teach when to access angels and when it's appropriate to do so, and what purpose they serve and how they can be of assistance. So they can be of assistance. And I do welcome and want my students to call on them when appropriate, just not to get them confused with their spirit guides who are souls.
Yes. Here's a great question. I like this one because my guides would say yes, but I know what the answer is. Can you overuse or misuse your spirit guides?
Well, actually, the answer is no, because they won't allow you to. So you can never ever overuse. I've had some of my students they'll come to me in a one-on-one after they've taken my workshops, and then they'll be like, going through a situation and whatever, and then I'm like, well, why didn't you ask your guides? And they're like, well, I don't know. I just didn't feel like, I didn't want to bother them. And I'm like, no, what do you mean you didn't want to bother them? Well, I just, I didn't want to
They're
burden them and
busy.
all that. And I'm like, no, they're not like humans. They don't have that human baggage where you can bother them too much. Please bother them lots, overuse them like they want you to. And you can never misuse them, because if there's something that you're trying to use them for that is unethical or something like mischievous or whatever, they won't answer, or they'll just avoid the question,
Or they'll just let you know also.
or they'll let you know like straight up, we're not going there, and no, focus on
Yeah,
something instead. Yeah. And Kevin's had that a few times where him and I have done one-on-one interactions, and his guides have been like, no, no, Kevin, don't even go there. So but no,
I remember that.
you cannot misuse your guides, because they won't give you the answers, or they will tell you, no, we're not doing that. And then the other big takeaway is that you can never, ever, ever overuse your guides. because they want you. That's what they're there for. They want you to utilize their services. They want you to utilize their guidance. They really do. And I would prefer my students to use them more than less. Can you overuse channeling? Yes, you can. And I went through this phase of my journey probably for 5 years, where I was constantly checking every little thing. Like, do I tie my shoelaces this way or that way? Or, do I, do this or do that? And it was just getting ridiculous. Like, I'm laying in bed and I have to go pee. Do I go pee? Do I channel? And it's like, no, if you got to go pee, just go pee. If you have to tie your shoelaces, just tie your shoelaces and get out the door and go live your life. And so, what I recommend is, when I say always channeling, like, and I always channel. But what I mean by that is, I always have, like, if you think of like a satellite dish. So the satellite dish is always on and available to receive the information. So if I'm out and about living my day, and all of a sudden I feel like a guide's presence and they're coming toward, like they're trying to get my attention, then at least the receiver is on and I can receive their information. But I'm not constantly in communication, like 24/7 kind of thing. But if they want to get my attention, I'm available to receive that information, so then I can get their guidance and so on.
So you believe in a real balance is what we need.
Yeah.
Even in spirituality, everything has to be balanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Um, any suggestions on shadow work with guides?
Yes, actually, really good question. So I'm very familiar with shadow work. I've actually done a whole bunch of training around it. I love it. I think it's great and very useful in certain circumstances for uncovering. So basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with what is shadow work, basically it's where there's things that are running the show subconsciously behind the scenes that you're not aware of, and it's in the shadows. That's why they call it shadow work. So imagine like something in the shadows. So what you do is, in shadow work, is discovering or uncovering things that are in the shadows, and you take it and you bring it out into the light. And now that you've shone the light on it, now you know how you can actually work through it and work on it. And I really encourage all my students, for any modalities and all modalities, please, please, please use your channeling. Your guides will give you way more insight than if you just try to figure it out on your own. And it will take whatever modality it is, whether it's shadow work or bioenergy or Reiki, or it doesn't matter what it is, and they will teach you. They will work with you to take it 1,000 times beyond what you were taught, because it can be just constantly expanded on over and over, and it will be specific to each individual situation, rather than just a generic cookie cutter kind of process every single time. They will teach you how to, in this situation, I got to do this, then this, then this, then this. And then the next situation, you're like, oh, what about this? Well, this time you have to do this, and then this, and then that. And you're like, what, really? And you're like, and you try it and it works. And you're like, holy, this is cool, because they're able to guide you for each specific individual situation, especially with shadow work. I love it, love it, love it.
Nice.
Great question.
Great answer. I have a personal question.
Yes.
I'm gonna get through this really well too, I promise. I had the unfortunate task of letting go of a dog, one of our pets, our loved ones. I had asked you a question to check to make sure that dog's soul had crossed to the animal astral realm.
Yes.
And your answer was really shocking to me. You said animals almost always directly cross over like that. Can you kind of delve into that a little bit? And I hope everybody's okay with me asking that question, because it is personal to me.
Yeah, so I do teach animal communication. I have an intro animal communication workshop, but I also have a full 2-day animal certification where you become a certified animal communicator, and that's after level 3. And the reason why I do it after level 3 is because you really need, you need to know how to channel your spirit guides really well. You need to really, that's level 1. You need to know how to channel other people's spirit guides really well, because you're often working with other humans. And then you need to know, that's level 2. And then you need to know medical mediumship really well, like how to basically find the root cause of what's going on with a human in level 3. But then in level 4, the animal communication full weekend workshop, I actually teach my students how to use medical mediumship for animals and pets. And so in that level, we go into great detail with animal souls and how all that works. And animal souls almost always cross over immediately to what's called the animal spirit realm. And there's almost never any contingency around that. And the reason why is because animals are different kinds of souls. Like, and I don't like to do this like, oh, we're better or superior. We're not. It's not. We're
Yeah.
just a different kind of makeup than animal souls, and they are really different. So one of the activities I actually have my students do is actually compare. Okay, feel into a human soul and feel how that feels. Feel into an animal soul and feel how that feels. And they're like, oh my goodness, it's completely different. Yeah, and that's because they're just different makeups. And so when an animal soul, because animals live very presently in the moment, they don't worry about things, they're not future based, they're usually very, very present, and they let go of things really easily, so that when they do die and they cross over, they immediately go to the animal spirit realm pretty much immediately,
Awesome.
no problems, and it's very smooth. What I work with and I teach my students in the animal communication workshop is how to prepare the living, the humans, for the transition of the pet if it's inevitable. And a lot of the people who attend those workshops do have pets, so it's not if the pet dies; it's when they
When.
die and cross over. And I teach them how to prepare themselves for that inevitable incident, and then also how to work with others who are going through something very similar.
And no matter how much you're prepared for it, and I had talked to Ken about before,
Yeah,
you're still going to grieve people. It's a
yeah.
natural process. So,
And please
uh,
do,
yes,
please
yes,
do
it's
welcome
important,
the
is it not?
tears. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
It's very important to grieve, is it not?
Yeah, and what like grieving is one of those things that you kind of have to do on your own. And so if you're grieving, whether it's a lost job, a family member, or a pet, or on and on and on, it could be almost anything, a big change in your life. Allow the tears to come, please do, and welcome them,
Healing.
and also give yourself some grace that you might go through phases and waves of the grief, and that it's normal, that you're going to go through times when you're good and then other times when you just all of a sudden break down and start bawling. Allow yourself to cry and allow yourself to bawl, and then you might be doing good for a while, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere you start bawling again because you're grieving the loss of whatever it is or whoever it is. But it's totally normal, and it's actually healthier than trying to stuff it down and avoid it. And please do
Awesome.
try to grieve.
Awesome. Ken, this has been the quickest hour I can remember this show went by. We only got a couple more minutes. So, in those
Yeah.
couple minutes, please, how do people get in touch with you if they want to book a one on one session or take one of your courses?
So I'm on all the social media sites. Look up on here, it says on the screen, Ken Lewicki. Channelinginc.com is my website. You can go there and you can book a one-on-one. Click there. You can also click on the intro workshops or any of the channeling workshops. Please just go ahead and just register. You don't even have to, private message me. Just go straight to my website, channelinginc.com, and register right away. I will see the payment come through, and then I'll update my files, and then I'll send you some information, and you'll also get an automatic reply through my website. So make sure you check in your junk box, inbox, and look for that email that follows up with that. And it's so much fun. It really is. Like, taking formal training on how to actually channel is really, really a lot of fun, because spirituality is meant to be fun, and that's what I keep it fun and upbeat and uplifting.
And if somebody wants to book a one on one session, or do you have availability for that at this time?
Yes, I do. So all you do is you just go to my website, channelinginc.com, and you look at where at the top it says book a one-on-one, and then you just click there, find a date and time that works for you. And I do have a special on for new people who've never accessed my services before. So it's like 43% off, and you just click there and make sure you click that checkbox. It's a one-time use for brand new people that are brand new. You get a full hour session, and it's really amazing. Like 1 hour, we can cover lots in a 1 hour, and I will train you and teach you actually how to channel, and then we'll cover whatever topics you want to cover. So it's fair game. Whatever you want to cover, let's deal with it. Let's do it. And some of my students listening, if you need a refresher, you can either book a one-on-one or you can retake any of my workshops. You're welcome to do that as well.
Awesome. And do you have any live events coming up anytime soon?
Yeah, so I do have on a regular basis. I also have it's called Readings with Ken's Mentees, and I'll have a guest, one of my students, come in, and they will do live readings, and that's where it'll be more personal for each individual. But I also, Kevin and I are going to be, and do you have the date handy, Kevin? It's September
September 14th.
14th, and it is going to be at the Genesis Place in Airdrie. It's a big, massive multiplex. So any of you that live in the Calgary region or Red Deer or even Edmonton and you want to make the drive down, it's going to be a phenomenal event. And then I also have coming up in later in August, end of August, I have another event that I'm going to be planning. It's going to be an in-person, so stay tuned for
And
that.
that one's going to
Um,
be in Calgary, is it not?
in
You believe?
Calgary, yeah, and
Yeah.
we're going to have a video recorder with his camera set up, and he's doing a documentary on people who are active in the spirituality industry and doing it for a living, which I am. So you're welcome to come out to that event. If you have any questions, private message me. I could put you on a wait list, and it will be first come first serve for both those events because of fire code, all that stuff. We are going to be doing an Eventbrite tickets on that. So make sure when you see those events posted, if you have any questions, but you want to get in the on the wait list or pre-sales, message me or Kevin, and we will create a list for you so that we can let you know as soon as the event is created, you can access it first, and it's going to be a blast.
There we go. Okay, thank you, everybody. This has been a great hour. I can't believe how fast it went. And our next session for the Ask Ken show, sorry, I'm just flipping my calendar here, will be August the 24th.
Yes. So in case you're wondering, it's always the fourth Wednesday of every month. Okay, the fourth Wednesday of every month. And in this case, it's August what?
24th.
24th from 7 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time. You can put it in your calendar right now. And also, any of you watching, please feel free to message me. Like I do make myself available. Just send me a message and I will get back to you. Don't be shy. My name's Ken. I'm pretty open. And if any of you ever meet me in person, you realize I'm just a normal dude who does awesome stuff with channeling and spirituality. So have a great night, everyone. Thank you, Kevin, for being an amazing host. You always do a
Thank you, Ken.
fantastic job.
It's been a great hour. We will see everybody August 24th.